Hello! There's been a lot of newspapers talking about how the majority of people on social media are on Johnny Depp's side, and they're talking about it like it's a really bad thing. And now a domestic violence charity has got involved in the conversation. So I thought it was a good topic for a video. Here's a video I made earlier. There were domestic violence charities and organisations talking about this as being a witch hunt. I think it was a headline that said, "This is going back to the Middle Ages. Now women are not going to be believed anymore because nobody's prepared to believe Amber Heard." I think that's a very dark view to be taking on all of this, that this is about us going backwards. I see it the other way around. I see it as that people are prepared to see the man as a victim of domestic violence, and they're prepared to take that seriously and be concerned for him, for his well-being and his reputation, instead of thinking, you know, why would a man be a victim like that? He can just leave, or he can hit her back. So to me, this seems like progression, you know, and it really frustrates me. It can, more than anything, it confuses me to see stuff talking about why is everyone believing Johnny Depp without thinking. Another headline recently has said the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial has played right into the hands of far-right extremists. And they're saying that's because everyone is on Johnny Depp's side. There was also a headline in The Independent which was, "Why do people blindly support Johnny Depp? I'll tell you why." And the answer wasn't because Johnny Depp seems believable and Amber Heard appears to keep lying. According to the article, Johnny Depp is above the law and the definition of masculinity. As well as that, our society apparently doesn't care about domestic abuse. So these are the reasons given in the article as to why people are supporting Johnny Depp. Chris Rock said, "Believe every woman except Amber Heard," which I thought was an interesting way to put it. The jury were not played the recording of what was said after the end of Johnny's finger was taken off. And that's because one of the people in that recording has since died, and so he couldn't be called in to testify. But many of us who listened to that recording before this court case heard Amber Heard making it clear that she was responsible. And this is what I'm confused about. I don't know if they weren't aware of those recordings, or if they weren't aware that we were aware of them, that many of us had heard them. But then you'd think that journalists would have done their research. At the same time, if they had, I can't help but think that they would understand why the public have been supporting Johnny Depp. None of us know if Johnny Depp has hit Amber Heard. There's no way for any of us to know that. The only people that know are obviously him and Amber Heard. But what does seem clear is that there's been a smear campaign about Johnny Depp. Johnny Depp is clearly not perfect. There are some people who say he isn't, but he seems to me to be an alcoholic from everything I've read and heard. He's a drug addict, or has been in the past. One of his kids witnessed him lying face down in the sand, apparently, after he'd been, on a bender. So he's not the perfect dad. He seems to have put Amber Heard before his kids sometimes, not spending enough time with them because of her. That's also not perfect. He swears, he says lots of nasty things. He's written nasty texts. Is this what these people are so frantic about, these different journalists? Is it that they can't bear the idea that all of this stuff is, that people are still supporting him despite all of this? Why does Johnny have to be perfect for her to be the baddie? And this is all in quotes, I should have said that. Why does he have to be sober? Yes, there are a lot of abusive people who are alcoholics. The two can go hand in hand, and they can also not go hand in hand. So it's quite disturbing that the media are saying, why are people supporting Johnny Depp when they can, when they're hearing about all this stuff? Because does that make him an abuser then? Surely the truth is whatever the truth is. So if Amber Heard is lying, then surely what matters is that she's lying, and what that means for Johnny Depp. I mean, what are we supposed to do? Pretend that she isn't lying, so that somehow we give them both equal respect, and we say, well, even though she appears to have been lying over and over again, let's just pretend that's not happening so that other women can come forward and not worry that people will accuse them of lying? What about how other women will seem more believable than Amber Heard? I mean, surely almost every woman would seem more believable, because Amber Heard comes across as if she's lying, and nothing makes any sense. If she's lying, then this is abuse that's going on all over the world, because she's got headlines on her side, Amber Heard. And if she isn't lying, it means countless people are, including police officers, a domestic violence trained police officer, a doctor, a nurse, and lots of other people who have no reason that we're aware of to lie. They're not being paid to come into court. So I think we can conclude that Amber Heard has lied pretty much non-stop throughout the trial. And if she has told some truths, we're not going to know about that because she isn't a reliable witness. The makeup artist who put makeup on Amber Heard before she went on stage to meet James Corden said that there was bruising on her face. So here finally is some evidence that may back up her story, or one part of her story. But we also know that Johnny Depp admitted to headbutting her that night, the night before, that he said that he had headbutted her accidentally when he was trying to hold her out of the way when she was hitting him. So, so it doesn't really mean a lot if she got bruised in the process. When we heard them on the recording, she sounded like she didn't doubt Johnny Depp's story. She didn't doubt that it was an accident. As for the other times she claims Johnny Depp physically abused her, there are no obvious injuries. There's no swelling on her face. If what she'd been saying was true, we would see the evidence on her face, no matter how much makeup she put on. You can't hide everything, you can't hide swelling. So it would be clear. And so that means that whatever she said, we know is at least exaggerated. And again, that makes it hard to know if there's any truth there at all because of the exaggeration getting in the way, because we know that a lot of it isn't true. There's one thing that does ring alarm bells in my head, which is that some of her hair was missing, according to this makeup artist. And she had said that Johnny Depp pulled her hair. So maybe she's right, maybe he did. We don't know why though. Was he doing that to get her out of his way? Was she punching him at the time, and so he was pulling her hair back to try and get her face out of the way to stop her? And the reason that that's the first thing I wonder is because she's lied non-stop. So, and this is the thing, we can't trust anything she says. So it's pretty weird to me that the journalists writing these articles don't consider that. That's fairly important. If someone's a compulsive liar, that might be why the public haven't been on her side. The article was about Johnny Depp abusing Amber Heard, and it's already clear that she has abused him over and over again. She's saying, I would never hurt Johnny, and so she's making herself out to be this perfect angel who was only really worried about Johnny's health. And that's not what we're seeing as the truth. What's coming across is something very different. It doesn't sound like he was perfect towards Amber Heard. You can hear from the arguments that he can be as nasty as she can be. And that's not surprising. That sounds normal to me in terms of an abusive relationship. And there is a degree of messiness when it comes to, things are not black and white. You don't always have one person who's always abusive and the other person in the relationship who's always a victim, because they would end up having a lot of anger in them from what they've endured. So that all makes sense. But Amber Heard isn't helping that. We already know she's hit him. We've got her recorded saying that, and she's making up this stuff about how Johnny Depp was going to do drugs and that's why she couldn't bear him to leave. When we already can hear on the various recordings that that's not what the issue was. And we've got all these witnesses saying that. Johnny Depp would run away when she started a physical fight, and we can hear him talking about how he tried to escape her. That's not what an abuser does. An abuser gets off on having fights with people. That's where they get their energy from. Johnny Depp is clearly the opposite of that. It's Amber Heard who is abusing the public. That's my opinion. And we'll have to see what a jury decides. It would be a massive shame, I think, if 12 people decide to let her get away with it. Ellen Barker said that he was jealous, and he sounds a bit obsessive in this jealousy. He also told a psychiatrist he was jealous. So it could be true. It could be that he has a problem with jealousy. On the other hand, he was talking to the psychiatrist specifically about Amber Heard, and he was suspicious that she was having an affair with someone who she said she wasn't interested in that way. And then, of course, we see this footage of them in the lift. So did he have reason to be jealous? And was Amber Heard maybe flirting with people in front of him? That's just a thought that I'm putting out there because she apparently has histrionic personality disorder, or at least the psychologist who assessed her thought so. So if she does, it's very normal that she would be very flirtatious. Ellen Barker wanted a relationship with Johnny Depp and he didn't want one. And she's very bitter. All these years later, she can't say that they were in a romantic relationship. She had to change that word to sexual. That's quite strange. Considering it was so long ago, it's quite strange that she would still feel so strongly about it, unless something drastic had happened. But she hasn't talked about anything drastic happening. She hasn't talked about him abusing her in any way. So does that mean, can we trust her when she says that he was jealous? So it could be that we can. It could be that she has no reason to make that up. And it could be that Amber Heard is being honest when she says he was jealous. And it could be that when he told the psychiatrist about it, it's because he really does have a problem with this. Maybe he's been like that with his other relationships and they just haven't mentioned it to anyone. And jealousy is a red flag. It can make somebody controlling, but it still doesn't mean they're abusive, that on its own. If he wasn't using coercive control because of his jealousy, then it's not abusive that he felt jealous. And I think that if Amber Heard's team had really done their research and understood how a victim of domestic violence behaves, then they might have used all this stuff that sounds like borderline personality disorder when she can't let him go and she's desperately running after him and he's hiding in the bathroom. All of those episodes, that there were several of them that witnesses have talked about and or that have also been recorded. The psychologist working for her team, she could have talked about how somebody who is in an abusive relationship can behave like they've got borderline personality disorder. They can fulfill all of the criteria within that one relationship only because they're dealing with abuse and they're caught up in this cycle where it just becomes harder and harder to be rejected by the abuser, and abused because they're clinging on for dear life to this idea they have of the person as loving them. All of that is true. But Amber Heard didn't say that. She said she was worried he was going to go and do drugs, when we can hear clearly that that is not what the issue was. He's about to go and see his daughter on one of these occasions. And, there's just so much. There's one thing after the other that is simply clearly not true. But there are lots of things that are just adding to this smear campaign, like Ellen Barker saying he tossed a bottle. That's what she said. She changed the word through to tossed. She said he tossed a bottle and he wasn't angry with her at all when he did it. He was angry with a couple of other people and it didn't hit her. And they're using that, like ex-girlfriend says he threw a bottle at her. I mean, that sounds obviously like something completely different. And this is the smear campaign. This is what people are angry about, rightfully so. And it's such a shame that this is being picked up on. Really, these journalists are doing Amber Heard such a big favour. The apartment wasn't destroyed. That's another example of just lies. The pictures taken carefully off the wall and put on the bed, they were not that Johnny Depp had trashed all the pictures. Amber's sister saying that she saw Johnny Depp throw a Red Bull can at someone, or rather a can of Red Bull, which is an important distinction because that means like a can that's full of Red Bull. And she said that the person hadn't noticed it hitting them. How would you not notice if someone throws a can of Red Bull at you? You know, and how he had hit her at the top of the stairs when one of his arms was in a plaster because she'd taken off the end of his finger. Whatever the jury decide, the smear campaign from Amber Heard has been, you know, running rife. Even if lots of people on social media support Johnny Depp and can see what's going on, they've been following the trial and listening to everyone and they can see what's happening. For some reason, there are all these journalists out there who are still writing stories about Amber Heard being the victim of domestic violence and nobody believing her. What if Johnny Depp had at one point hit Amber Heard? We're never going to know because Amber Heard isn't a reliable witness. Her sister also doesn't appear to be a reliable witness, and she's the only one who also says she's seen Johnny Depp hitting her. So we don't know and we're never going to know. But what would it mean if he had hit her? Would that mean that she's right, that she has been in this abusive relationship? She has been the victim for all those 5 years, and you know how awful that was for her. And now she's an advocate for women's rights, you know, in domestic violence situations. I don't think so. I don't think so. And that's not excusing him if he did hit her. But we know how abusive she's been. So it's a bit like, you know, it's a bit like going to the police, and which is what she did, and complaining about someone doing something that you've done yourself over and over again. What is the point of that? What are you trying to achieve? If she's hit him 10 times and he hit her 1 time, and her injuries are clearly not as bad as his injuries were, you know, because she's got all of her fingers and thumbs and toes still intact. So what would it really say? Does that mean it would make sense for her to write an article about being the victim of domestic violence? I think people are missing the point. In reality, it's about the psychology of all of this. It's about who the victim is. You don't have an equally balanced abusive relationship. It's about a power imbalance. And from everything I see, Amber Heard had the power.
So I went and back in the house because it was really, they went off on their own, and she started yelling at him, and I didn't want to hear it. It honestly was really triggering because I've been in an emotionally abusive relationship before.
Objections.
He was kind of cowering and seemed almost afraid, and it was really like odd to see because he was older than her, obviously. So, but I just went back in the house. He honestly, throughout the rest of the night, became a lot more quiet and was just very more petulant. In the beginning of the night, he was a lot more outgoing and extroverted, and throughout, as the course of the night went on, he was less and less so and more quiet.
So if she was once hit, then does that suddenly mean she was the victim in this relationship? No, it doesn't rule out all the times that he was her victim. So it still doesn't make her like other survivors of domestic violence situations who may themselves at some point have hit out, you know, whether verbally or physically, because they have so much trauma inside them from one experience after the other with their abuser. The jury were told by Amber Heard's lawyer that they should think about what their decision would mean for domestic violence victims. I think that's very twisted. They're fully aware that Johnny Depp was a victim of domestic violence. They don't seem to be very talented lawyers. They're always using really low tactics. The comments I've seen by people who've experienced abuse who watch this channel are really insulted by what Amber Heard is doing. The comments I've seen by people who watch this channel and who've experienced domestic violence suggest they're really insulted by what Amber Heard's doing. Since putting out these videos about the trial, I've had more men than usual contacting me, asking for help. And I think that's such a good thing because there are so many men in abusive relationships who don't speak up. I'm going to be putting out the next video in the series I started last time, tomorrow. So if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe and I'll see you then.
Hello, kangaroo. Hello. Can you hear me? Are you getting wet? Are you getting wet? It's very wet, isn't it? You're a lovely size. You're so big. I want you to bounce. Can you do some bouncing quickly? Because I've got to get back in the car now. You going to do some bouncing? Can you hear me with those ears? You can do some bouncing? Go on, quickly. Do some jumping. One jump. One jump. One quick jump. Jump, jump. No? No, you don't feel like it. Okay then, bye-bye. Bye-bye, kangaroo. Bye-bye, darling.